You're not allowed to say that.
Well, hey, friends, welcome to Hot Thoughts. I think this is season 3, episode 7. I've got Sam and Meredith. I'm excited about this one. We're doing, and I think maybe my most clever title, Comedy Wings and Spicy Things. By far my most clever title ever. And Meredith, you probably don't know this, but Hot Thoughts doesn't happen without you. Do you remember over a year ago we did our thing with you, me, and Matthew Moore about comedy and mental health? That is what sparked my idea of starting this. And so
where are my royalties?
Well, once I start making money, you'll get some royalties. If you want, you can actually help me foot the bill. That'd be great, actually. I'm in the negative right now, so that'd be great. But hey, so I got Sam and I got Meredith here. We're going to be talking about life, comedy, kind of a smattering of things. But I know I've gotten a chance to get to know you guys a little bit better. Your kind of crew knows you, but maybe not everyone knows you. So let's do some quick introductions. And so, Sam, why don't we start with you? You're just right there on my screen, and then Meredith, kind of just say kind of who you are, what you do. Yeah. I mean, you guys are comedians, but and I would also love to hear why you got into this, why comedy. Before we talk anything else, who you are, what you do, and why comedy.
Okay.
Hey, friends out there. I'm Sam Lyons. I don't know, y'all. I am a comic, storyteller, producer, musician, Gilmore Girls connoisseur here in St. Louis. There we go, my man's. And I got into comedy because I don't know, something in my head makes me giggle. I want to see if it'll make somebody else do the same. That's
yeah.
You see, it worked. I got one.
I think that's a great. I think you can almost see that too in comedian, the desire just to make people laugh, as the intrinsic thing, right? It's not to be famous to.
No, it's more validation, so that I know my thoughts aren't weird. I know that I'm not the only one who's.
Yeah, right. I think it's good. Cool. So Meredith, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do comedy?
My name is Meredith Hopping. Hi, friends. As Sam said, I do comedy because 4 years ago, on June 27th, I had horrible postpartum depression, and Trump had, been gotten him to do the thing, and let's just go right there with hot thoughts.
We're not even 2 minutes in.
No,
it's gotten spicy already.
That's my magic. I take it there before anyone gives me permission to. But so I had horrible postpartum depression, and I desperately needed to do something that I felt in control of. And I had always wanted to try stand-up comedy, and I realized, if I go and try this and it completely fails and I just completely bomb, there's no one to blame but myself. That's one thing I love about stand-up comedy. You are the only one there. And so it went amazingly well for a first time, and I just haven't stopped since.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And so what we'll do kind of through the course of our time together is we're going to chat a little bit about my hope is I try to be funny. I tell people all the time, preachers are the worst historical stand-up comedians of all time. Yeah. We're telling jokes out of a book that no one's read. It's kind of, the Bible's kind of like the Beatles. It's not they've been around for a while. They're pretty sweet, but they're not coming up with anything new. You know what I mean? So it's you read it and you're hey, we should dive into this. We should get to have something pretty funny.
Man, you need to do your Bible material.
I'm good. I'm so good.
No, I made Sam do some Bible material at his dad's funeral.
Hey, we don't talk about our dad's funeral every event we do together, Meredith.
Do you have some? I wouldn't be against you kind of kicking us off with a little bit. Do you have a joke that you could lead us in with?
I'm gonna kill you, Meredith.
that a soft yes or like a hard yes?
Give full consent to do your material, Sam.
I wonder if they had book clubs in biblical times, you know? Like midnight, new book of the Bible's coming out, Nehemiah or something. Everybody's standing outside a ye old Barnes and Noble waiting for the release. You know, they're cosplaying as their favorite characters. So you got, you know, Moses and Jonah and a really edgy gender bending take on Noah that's always sharp to see. Fans bring bottles of water. Maybe Jesus will show up, turn it into wine for them. That's
I think this is a genre we need to maybe explore more. I think this is a great place to take things. I think it'd be great.
As far as we're taking it.
So here's my first question for you though. But before we do, whatever your first sauce is. So what do you got? Like, what are you working with? What do we have sauce-wise?
So my first sauce is it's Emo's classic take on buffalo. I'm working with limited sauce options here, so we're gonna.
Hey man, I got you.
Emo's wings and Emo's pizza. Like you just really want to clean it out.
I'm sorry.
I don't know that I had no idea Emo's made wings. Until you said that before we went on. I had no idea they had wings.
When I moved here, I thought Emo's was like. I was not with it at all. I thought everybody here who was talking about Emo's was ridiculous, and the wings are what pulled me over. Hand to God, some of the best wings in St. Louis.
Really?
I stand by it. Get them well done.
Never tried them. I'll have to give it a go. So you got some Emo's. Meredith, what are you rocking with?
I have Stubbs Sticky Sweet.
Okay, I love it. So what we'll do is we'll take a bite. So you guys take a bite of your wing. You'll dive in, but I'll kind of preface the question for you. I just want to know off the bat, what's the funniest question you've ever heard, or funniest joke you've ever heard? Like, and it could be your own joke. And friends, they haven't had a chance to prepare for any of these. And so like maybe this is a hard one to come up with, but what is the funny, like when you think of something like made you laugh so hard you peed your pants, like what was it?
Oh, I'm trying to think of one of Sam's jokes.
Well, you gotta eat the wing first, Meredith.
Oh.
And then you're supposed to.
Look at that. Meredith has watched more episodes, but Sam knows what to do.
Funniest joke I've ever heard. God, I hate most jokes. No. I've been really on a kick for this one lately. It's John Mulaney's bit. It starts out a bit about airlines.
Right, yeah, I've heard that one.
And it ends with him doing this jingle where Delta Airlines lets his plane take off, delays his plane 6 hours, then lets it take off early, gives him a food voucher that's not going to work at any of the restaurants, and then frames him for murder. And John Mulaney says, "Why are you doing this to me?" "Because we're Delta Airlines and life is a fucking nightmare." And I've really been on, like, I go through stages with jokes and songs and like shows and everything. This one's really in my repeat right now.
And that one's great because it does, like, it starts with such a small, like, idea, right? And then it just, like, it goes to a place that is so intense. You're like, how did we just get here? And, like, you forget where you came. That's a great joke.
I think of all the people that do the corny, I'm not going to say this company's name. Here, let me say this company's name. I think in that joke is where it's just best executed. It's like he knows it's a little campy, but it's going to work as a vehicle to get him to the rest of the joke, and he just like slides through. He doesn't try to make it fancier than it is.
Yeah. Meredith, what about you? Do you have a funniest favorite joke? It could be your own. I don't know.
It could be my own. And you know what? It kind of is my own because I want to stay on brand with really enjoying talking about myself. But it's not completely my own. Honestly, my favorite thing has just been my mother during the pandemic. She has been freaking hilarious and not necessarily intentionally. And so one thing that she said to my brother and I when we were there, she's been doing a lot of reading over the pandemic, and she was like, guys, I've been reading the My Pillow guy's book, and I'm just a little worried because the way that he describes doing drugs, I kind of want to try them.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, Mom. Like, people get addicted because they're great, not because they make you feel horrible.
No one gets into drugs because they're not awesome, right? Like they do. Yeah. Yeah.
But
no.
I just never had that realization that, like, that's why people get addicted to drugs, because they feel really great.
Susan's really come into her own during the pandemic.
She has. Oh my goodness, she has.
So funny. Well, I appreciate, but Meredith, I would love you to work that into some material soon, if you haven't already. Sam, I think that again, one of my favorites as well. I'm a big Chad Daniels fan, and he has a great one about his son trimming his pubes in his bathroom. By far, like one of my favorites.
Are you allowed to say that? We never talked about like what the level of appropriateness is
on this thing.
It's the internet's.
Oh, you can do whatever you want. You just have to. It lives forever. So as long as you're comfortable with it living forever, then
right. It's just this is what's ingrained in me from being the granddaughter, daughter, and ex-wife of a pastor. Is I hear you say something mildly inappropriate, and I'm like, the calls, the phone calls, the emails.
Meredith, we literally all have pubes. Relax.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe the best thing I've heard on Hot Thoughts. That's the best. It's true.
We all have pubes because God gave us pubes. Except there's some people out there who don't have pubes.
Okay. So, all
right. Also, just a very short but great joke by Chad Daniels as well on the exact thing you were just saying. That's just, he has a lot of pube material apparently. Like now that I'm thinking about it.
He really hates his son.
Yeah, I think that might be true.
Chad Daniels really hates his son.
He goes pretty hard at him. So here's my thing. So let's do a second wing, but I want to riff a little bit on what I just asked you of what is your favorite joke.
Yeah.
And I'll put it up now so you can sauce it up real quick. So we'll do the sauce in a second. But I want to know what makes a joke funny. Like either to you or if there's some like universally like, hey, this is like, because I mean, I'm going to make a blanket statement. I don't think there's like, this is what makes every joke funny, but maybe you know, like what makes a joke funny for you. And so what is your sauce though? So what do you got now, Meredith? What do you got for number 2?
I gotta tell you one, like I will probably start crying soon because the problem is Danny sent us like hot wings that I'm now putting more mild sauce on.
Right, to cover up the hotness.
Oh man! So
I took a different approach for this episode. I usually send people the sauces, and I sent them the wings this time, which might be the most diabolical thing I've done. This seems like a great decision.
But this time I'm going with Sweet Baby Ray's sweet and spicy. So I
love it. If you have any blue cheese in the house, maybe throw a little blue cheese on it.
I don't.
Or ranch. I don't really like either of them, but like maybe put it on. Sam, what are you rocking with?
This is a mango habanero sauce from my kitchen that may or may not still be in edible condition. A little bit past expiration date, but we'll see what's happened.
Did you make it?
Did I make it? No, I did not make it. Sauces have expiration dates.
You said it came from your kitchen.
Yeah, it came from the cabinet in my kitchen.
But what kind is it?
That I don't know.
I didn't even know what kind it is.
The label had rusted off.
I didn't bring it in here with me. I thought the shot glasses would be cuter than just a bunch of balls of sauce.
I like it. I actually
Thank you.
I see some creative ways to ingest sauces. The shot glass, great. You got a shout out, by the way. Sweet Baby Ray's is awesome. Steve Hargis wants you to know. It's great.
Steve.
But here's the deal. I think we started with Sam on the first question. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So Meredith, what makes a joke funny?
I think that for me at least, and I think you'll find that this answer would be different for every single comedian. But for me, when I'm crafting a joke, it's about transparency and then also relatability. And so I can sometimes go to like an open mic and try a new bit that I know is funny, but the audience is just male comics. And it doesn't hit at all. And I'm like, but I know that this is funny. And then I go and do an actual show and it does kill because it's normal people and not just sad bastards. So I love my sad bastards and like I'll kill anyone that tries to mess with them, but they're still sad bastards.
Yeah, you know your audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So would you say knowing your audience makes a funny joke too? Like it's less is how much of it is material and how much of it is knowing who you're saying it to?
You want your material to work in any situation, in any audience, I think. And you can like interject and interrupt me if you disagree or agree with anything. But I think that, especially in Missouri, we can do shows in St. Louis City and then also go do a show in Farmington, Missouri. And so your audience is going to be vastly different.
Yeah. Same state, very different audience.
Yes, very different options. And I always try to, like, I want to have integrity with my material. You know what I mean? I'm never going to placate an audience. I may handle it a little differently. Like if I do something slightly political, which I don't really gravitate towards very much, but if I know like, oh, my leanings aren't going to be the same as the majority in Farmington, Missouri, right? But I may present it as like, I know you guys might not be on board. Like there's a way to surround your joke maybe and present it a little differently, but it's still going to have the same guts, I guess.
Integrity is definitely what I was going to say is like, I think that it's important to know your audience and it's important to know like what is going to like really strike for them. But like you got to be true to yourself. You got to be true to your comedy or to anything you do. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that means, it's got to relate to you, but it's also got to relate to the audience. Like that's the whole point of it. It's about forming a relationship, figuring out which lens you're telling the story, you're telling the joke through this time. Yeah. It's about taking the personal and making it universal.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, see?
That's really good. Yeah. And I think that's like, I mean, that doesn't just like go to like comedy, right? I mean, it goes to any sort of storytelling, right? Like if you're just trying to tell a really good story. Yeah. And it's like, or you like whatever, you just want to tell this specific story, but it's like, it's not relatable or it's not connected to you or there's like the integrity of it's missing. It's like, just because you told a story doesn't make it inherently good or funny or meaningful. Like there's a lot of steps in there, right?
The best way I heard it described was comparing two comics, and I'm not going to use one of the comics' names because he turned out to be a piece of shit. But the other one was Dane Cook, and basically what it came down to is the first guy tells funny stories. So some comedians tell funny stories. Other comedians like Dane Cook tell stories funny. So Dane Cook, I think Dane Cook is funny as shit, and I hate what we did to him. But the whole base of his comedy was in how he's telling the story. Now, and that's why you just tell stupid jokes about like having sexy conversations with Burger King workers or whatever, like Burger King's a nightclub or whatever he was doing, because it was how funny he thought the story was, made you think it was funny when you never would have otherwise.
Right. Yeah.
I will say, just quickly an aside, Dane Cook, one of the nicest comics out there, one of the few people that has like responded to me like on a DM, like one of the sweetest guys. Like, and I feel like famous people don't need to respond to anyone. And I did ask him not to be on this episode, but I did ask him if he wanted to be in Hot Pops. So screw him for saying no.
Yeah.
But he's super sweet for being really like, I was like so
Was it a graceful no?
You don't have. It was really, it was super sweet. I was like, you don't have to like even respond to me.
Right.
But I think you're right a little bit. Like Dane Cook's an interesting example of like, he tells stories really well and tells them really funny. And for whatever reason, he got railroaded. Like people just did not like his kind of frat boy vibe. But he was really funny. Like, and it was like kind of his jokes were.
He made you want to be around at mundane. Like listening to Dane Cook do an imitation of somebody parking in like a mall garage and then redoing the whole joke again. Makes you want to go to a mall garage like immediately. I wish I was in a fucking Galleria parking tower right now. Like,
right. And how many people roll up to a Burger King and call it like the BK Lounge now, right? Like how many people do that? Like I bet you it's more than we imagine.
I still call the BK Lounge sometimes.
Didn't you take dates there before?
I've done that.
I've never done that, but it sounds like a great idea. Their onion rings are fire.
I go there 3 times a week now.
Well, hey, so here's the next question. We're gonna take a little bit of like a step into, but I think you guys do. Well, here's my perception. I'm going to make a perception. I think comedy is one of the greatest things that speaks into culture. I think it can be a voice of justice, can be a voice of movement, it can be a voice of truth. And so I think comedy really speaks into culture. And so I want to give y'all a chance just to talk about how you think, or maybe where you think comedy, stand-up comedy specifically, but just any comedy, whether it's SNL or it's a movie or it's stand-up, like where you think it speaks in to comedy. And you don't intro your next wing, just dab it, take a little bite. But I'll let either of you kick this off, but like where and how do you think comedy speaks into culture? And should it just be like hilarious? Should you like leave somewhere and just hear like a bunch of like jokes about whatever and not think about culture? Like, so I guess I'm making a assumption that maybe it should. So do you think it should? Do you think it shouldn't? And if it should or shouldn't, why or why not?
Yeah. I'm gonna let you eat your wings, Sam, and I'll talk.
Go for it.
My next up is Frank's Red Hat, and I'm not excited.
Right.
So I think that anytime you're in front of an audience talking, you no longer have, or a congregation, okay, you no longer have the opportunity to say that you aren't speaking into culture. You're speaking into culture simply by standing there with an actively listening audience. And I think we've seen, especially this year with Chappelle and his brilliance, comedians are modern day prophets, and he has been able to say things and put into words things that previously people could not even begin to comprehend. And so he has used his platform to make real change. And I don't think it's ever positive for a comedian unless they're doing political comedy, like writing for SNL, or Michelle Wolf when she did the dinner that was
Correspondence Center.
Yeah. And so I don't think anyone sets out to say, like, I'm going to speak into the culture and I'm going to make a difference. And yet, if you're actually making jokes about your life and what you're experiencing, it's going to inevitably happen. And you're going to speak on and comment on the state of the world around you. And I think I never think like, oh, I better not joke about this because I don't want to bring the crowd down, right? Like, especially right now during the pandemic that we're still in, where so many people have been impacted by this horrible, awful virus and have had loved ones die and have had lives destroyed. And yet I think it's really important right now when I get up to do stand-up to make a comment of like, well, we all survived last year. At least those of us that are here did. You know, like there's a way to comment on it. Oh, good. You think I'm funny?
Good shit. That's good shit.
Because like I'm making a joke, but I'm also reminding everyone, hey, we're in this together. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the reality of the shit show that we're all living in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sam, what do you think?
So I think if Meredith just wants to give her answer again, it'll hit how I feel in the head. Sorry, my sauce was a sriracha, and it's the first time I've had sriracha ever.
It's hot, right?
It's hot, yeah. It's not like unbearably hot. It's just I think I built it up in my head so much that like by the time I finally, so I think that comedy speaks to culture when it's supposed to. Just like anything else in the world, I was like people have to make movements to push things forward, but change happens like at the right moment for it.
Yes.
And I think a really good example of that is Trevor Noah's one of his opening monologues, or whatever they called them on late night shows. Like when specifically with Trevor Noah, when he is speaking on like racial injustice or anything awful going on in the world, like you can hear it. You can see it in his face, you can hear it in his voice, and you can find it like in every word of the material. Like, I think, especially with talented comedians, talented storytellers, talented musicians, like that kind of energy already just comes, it just ebbs out of them. Like with people like Trevor Noah, you always know it's there.
Right.
And so when tragedies happen, when these unthinkable, these precipitated moments like come about, they are just fully it's like they were born for this. It's going full Voltron, like
full Voltron. That's maybe the best way to say that. That was great. So our next the next question is like kind of audience questions. And so I'm going to kind of hunt through these real quick and see if I can find some. And so I saw one earlier. Oh, so Janet, here we go. So Janet says she wants to get into stand-up, but wanting to know if you have any pointers on like writing or finding material. And the one thing I say, like, I mean, I have this conversation with people in my field. It's like, hey, what's the best first step? Like, you've been at this for a while. Like, how do you do this? Like, y'all had it. You all had a first day. And you had the first day, like before the first day, where you were like just crapping your pants, like, what am I going to do? And then your 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever, and you're great now. So what, like across that spectrum, like what are some pointers maybe, like as far as that goes, like writing, finding material, like, and you've talked a little bit about that, but for Janet's question, like, how do you go about it?
Yeah. I want credit that I'm about to eat Frank's Red Hot wing.
Hold on. Don't eat it yet.
Don't eat it yet?
I'm going to blow you up. We're going to make you your solo layout. So you'll get to eat this. And so everyone can only.
My cheeks are getting red from.
You look fine.
You look great. So Sam, maybe you kick us off on this while she digests Frank's Red Hot for the first time. Meredith, I love you, by the way. And you've handled spice. You're definitely in the bottom third of people I've ever had on, like as far as spicy things go.
It's not good.
Sam, all right, Sam, what do you think?
So
what?
This answer is brought to you by next sauce on my list. It's actually home whipped up today by my glorious partner Emma.
Emma.
So you did make a sauce.
My girlfriend made a sauce for me for this occasion. It's brown. I won't give all the way, but it's brown sugar and cayenne pepper base. Emma's secret sauce. Ooh. And so
I dig that.
It comes in smooth and sweet.
Yeah.
And then here comes that kick.
Okay.
There it is, right there. So I would say you're definitely getting, if you ask 100 comedians, you'll get 6,000 answers on this. I think that if you have so it's something you want to get into, you already know what you think is funny.
Mm-hmm.
So I say write the jokes, and then just go to an open mic and sign up. Oh, I've definitely heard people in the past suggest that you like go and check out open mics first. I personally don't think that's the move.
Nope.
That's how it came about for me, because I found out there was an open mic in my town, like had to see it for myself, and then went and signed up for the next one. But I think if you can avoid it, definitely go in without like the expectations of what you think, specifically what you think open micers are supposed to look like. I think it's much better if you go in trying to imitate like the last Netflix special you saw. It's, it's probably not going to work, but you're going to get a better understanding.
Don't use that material.
Don't use that material. That's not what I said. But
she's got material. She says
she's got material.
I've got material.
Excellent. Nice. So I think the next step is to head over to stlouiscomedy.com, where we keep a finally curated list.
She might not be in St. Louis though.
Might not.
She's in St. Louis. Yeah, Jana's in St. Louis.
Worth a road trip. There's not a better place to drive for a 4-minute set.
So real quickly, actually, I will just, before you answer this, Meredith, if you could, Sam and Meredith, rate 1 to 10, how did your first set go?
Off the bat, that's not a 1 to 10 answer.
Mine was Mine was great.
Okay, good.
I think I'm very hard. I didn't look at this set for you. Like, my sister recorded it for me, but I didn't watch it for years after I did it.
Okay.
And I went back and finally watched it at my 5-year mark. And I'll say, like, considering the fact that all my friends were in the crowd, like a lot of people came out for my first one, put the energy was definitely like at an 8 or 9. But like when I look at the material, I'd say it was probably around a 5 or 6. But 5 or 6, I'm damn proud of. Like a 60% is passing in most school districts now. So,
yeah, I mean, hey,
Miss Langford. Anyway,
that's what got me here. So, all right, Meredith, what do you have, like, just as far as like material writing goes? Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I definitely didn't go check out a bunch of different mics. I did research and found out the closest one to my house at the time was the Funny Bone. I saw that you got 4 minutes. I saw that you were going to get up no matter what, if it was your first ever time doing it. And so I wrote for the 4 minutes. And
you wrote for what you were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And one really important thing to know is you do that same 4 minutes a lot. The second time I went to do the open mic, the next week, I was under the impression, because I didn't know anything, that you had to have 4 new minutes of material. Right. So I'm sitting there waiting for my turn, watching all these men do the exact same jokes they had done the week before.
Like, these a-holes are just like repeating, they're recycling the same
thing. You were on your high horse.
Wait, no, wait. And like, I wasn't comfortable enough to just go back and do my very first 4 minutes, because I had been practicing my second 4 minutes. And I like,
how'd the second 4 go?
Not as good as the first, because I was so in my head about it. And so I think another important thing is like, write. Just write so much. A great book is The Artist's Way, and it's an amazing book no matter what art you find yourself passionate about. But the concept of morning pages is a huge thing that I know many successful comedians adhere to. And I think Greg Warren, especially, who's a St. Louis comedian, who is also amazing at that concept of making the mundane just freaking hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Has a whole 10 minutes probably on ordering sides at Red Lobster. And
that's funny.
So he does that. Like he does his morning papers and writes, and a lot of it just gets thrown away and is crap. But you do all that in order to get to the good stuff. Another thing that I've never forgotten is Nathan Orton, a comedian who used to be in St. Louis, is now in New York City. Also Randy Orton's brother, which I didn't even know what that meant. And then my dad was like, is that Randy Orton's brother? I was like, what does that mean? But also one of my favorite comics, my mom's favorite comic in St. Louis, because he roasted her for having oxygen. He talked to me about how he records every single set that he does, goes back and listens to it, marks down where the laughs are, and then edits to make the points between laughs shorter. So the idea is that you have the smallest amount of time. Yeah, I'm laughing about the chat because I don't know what the question is. What's the question? Oh, I just saw that I can click on comments.
Comments. It's there for everybody to see. You don't have to be a subscriber.
Well, Sam, you have one you might want to dive into.
So this one, I want to reiterate the question for anyone else who might be struggling finding the comments thread.
I'll just put it on the screen.
Awesome. From local St. Louis dirtbag Brando Hollis Hall. So
we all know Brando.
Yeah, you all know who Brando. You all know how terrible he is. Here's the thing, Brando is. I'm going to take the time and the grace to really explain this to you because I understand you just don't have the cultural palate to understand a show as sophisticated, as groundbreaking, as representative of our time as Gilmore Girls, and that's why you can't understand Paris's pain, and that's why you can't understand the hardship she's gone through, and how that's only made her stronger. How Tristan's disrespect and Jamie's manipulation. I'm not going to get into all the plot points. You should all go watch Gilmore Girls for yourself. But it's a lovely show. It's a lovely story about mothers and daughters and families that become friends that become families.
Sam, I've been doing this show for a while, and I want to let you know this is one of my favorite moments. This will go down in history in the Hall of Fame. I've never seen a passion so great for Gilmore Girls. And I'm about it, man.
When I queue up church services on Sundays, I have to take 5 minutes and meditate so that when I see Brando on the screen, I don't just rage again.
Sam and his mom attend the gathering online.
Well, the three of us attend online.
Oh yeah, and Ella.
Stuart sometimes joins.
Sometimes the cat.
Sometimes one of the cats. Stuart joins. Hubert's not a fan of anything.
So are you praying for him, or should we keep praying for him?
This is an accepted interfaith household.
So I will a quick follow-up question, or not follow-up question rather, but the next one, and Brando, throw whatever you got in here. You'll make your way on the screen for sure.
For sure.
But do either of you have a favorite legacy comic? And so I don't know that's not a term I've necessarily heard before, but do you have you and I were talking a little bit, Sam, before we went live, you have your comics that aren't necessarily pumping the mainstream now, but do you have and maybe that's what that means. Do you have a comic
because they're dead.
Yeah, dead is the nice way to say that.
Some Facebook user just asked what the gathering is, and I don't know if they're being funny.
It's a card game. It's great. It's a Magic the Gathering.
And when
So the Gathering, it's a great church. We all three are connected to it in some way or another. So I think you two apparently attend it.
Yeah,
I used to work there.
Yeah.
And so it's a great church. If you're looking for a church that everyone's included and invited, and you're in the St. Louis area or even online, man, check it out. It's a great church.
So before we get into legacy, or what sauce are we on? Are we on?
Are we supposed?
Oh yeah, you got another one. You have what are we on? Huh? Well, actually, so if you want to get on a technicality, you actually don't. As far as hot thoughts goes, you don't have to have another one because we're still on the Q&A for the audience. So
Fair
it's
enough.
all one
Kevin Sexton asking what the gathering is. Everyone's a comedian tonight.
Oh, Kevin Sexton.
Yes, Steve, like Richard Pryor. That is one of my favorites.
Yes, that's
my
a
legacy
very
comedian.
good.
That's who Danny and I were talking about. Steve has gotten me from the beginning.
Yeah, I agree.
Steve knows you. So Steve or Richard Pryor, that's your like, and we were talking a little bit about this, but like, why is that your like? Why does he resonate for you
as
far as like
off stage in every aspect of his life? He was just so unapologetically himself, and let that like show so much on the stage. And like, I think looking today at comedians who may not even be remotely near his style, I think a lot of comedians who there's a good way to show confidence, because you should be confident in what you do, especially like if this is your passion, this is your joy, you should be damn proud of it.
Yeah,
there's a right way to do that and a wrong way to do that, and I feel like Richard Pryor really, at least for me, exhibited the right way to do that. And I think I wouldn't be surprised to find a lot of others feel that way.
Yeah,
cool. What about you, Meredith? Do you have a favorite?
I agree with Richard Pryor, especially him being from Peoria, Illinois, too. Like, that's such a...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, right? I'm not making that
up. No, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a local connection there for me growing up so close to Peoria. Also, I think for me, it's not straight stand-up, but Carol Burnett and the Carol Burnett Show was a huge part of growing up for me. And I think what for me was so powerful about her is she wasn't the stereotypical attractive ingenue pretty woman, and yet she had this whole show about her because she was so amazing at making people laugh. And I mean, she's just a goddess to me in the absolute ridiculousness of what she would do.
Yeah.
I'd say I kind of bounce off that thing about shows too, and also Brain in the comments just shouted out Red Fox, which is definitely another. It's like shows like Sanford and Son and Good Times, All in the Family, like all those Norm Lear shows were such a staple like in my family growing up, and they were all such great they were TV shows on their own, but like it was all about staying in the joke.
Like Carlin's
Carlin. We all know Carlin, but they were all like in all these scenes in these shows, these actors are just like so devoted to like being in the scene and playing the jokes off of each other.
Yeah,
and with the live audiences in those shows are just feel so sincere and authentic. I don't know how sincere they actually were, but it just all I feel like in that era came together so beautifully well. And Carol Burnett Show, of course, we're part of that, leading into shows like Mama's Family.
Right.
And y'all can roast me for it, Saved by the Bell.
You're trying to connect the Carol Burnett Show with Saved by the Bell?
They are all shows that, like, just fully dove into being comedy is kind of what and like knowing that what they were doing was a joke is what I'm, and not to be they're very different shows, yes, but the essence of them, kind of like what I was saying about Richard Pryor and comedians today who may be very different. The spirit of it is there, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a stretch, but I'll go there with you.
It's like if you look at like the hip hop, like you can trace all rappers to like 5 originating families. I think it's the same kind of context.
Not to be confused with how Boy Meets World is the greatest show ever made.
Oh, here we go. Are we gonna?
It's a contender. I would have that conversation. I don't know where I'd land.
That's not what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for that conversation.
It's one of my favorite shows. There's one episode I watch yearly. It's the Halloween episode.
Where they're stuck in the high school?
Yeah, one of the funniest episodes of TV I've like ever. It's just so good. And as a angsty teen, pulled my heartstrings real hard.
Yeah,
they pulled. Well, so here is. So we're kind of.
I'm gonna eat my sriracha one.
Yeah, put it in. Get it. You got.
I made a commitment.
So I'm looking through my questions, and I think I'm trying to. We got some Rodney Dangerfield, George Carlin. We're seeing some more old time Ellen people throwing out some names. I don't think I see any other. We got from Jenny. You're apparently a good dancer, Meredith. Do you have some dance moves?
She's a dancer.
That's a bit of mine. But no, you have to pay money for the dancing.
Oh, my favorite question has now come up. And one of my favorite to listen to on comedy podcasts. What's your favorite bombing story? Like, have you had like what's your worst bomb? Like, have you had a moment where you just like, get me off the stage as fast as I can?
Do you want to go first?
I'd like to.
I mean, I'll tell you that on preaching,
yes, you start. Let me catch my breath.
Yeah, there have been times. I don't know. I mean, I feel like in some ways it's the same thing, right? Like preaching and doing stand up. You guys just you pick an hour or you pick 30 minutes or whatever. I've never seen two of my guests melt down in the way that's happening right now. So this is outstanding. But you have to like come up with original material, and nothing is more emotional than watching people not resonate with it. Mm-hmm. And I've had some bad moments where I'm just like, how can we land this plane? Like, Jesus loves you, amen, as fast as I can. Because I was like, people, they don't care. So for you, I mean, what? And so my one story is that like I ended up having a conference and like I had something else like with my kids, and I had half of a sermon written, and it was a pretty good half of a sermon. But I'll tell you, the Holy Spirit doesn't work in terms of like coming up with second halves of sermons. So it was real bad.
Holy Spirit doesn't like laziness, Danny.
Yeah. They don't tell you that. And so it didn't turn out well. But for either of you, I love when I'm watching on the screen in front of me, by the way. I'm like, my heart is so happy watching people just melt their faces.
Don't we have one left? We have the atomic one left.
We got the atomic. And actually, I got to catch up. So I got my hot one real quick. But either of you.
Damn! You did it wrong!
So what's your favorite bombing story?
So my favorite bombing story was about
Sam,
a month in. And if it sounds like I'm talking really loud, because I can't hear myself over the ringing of the pain in my ears. I'm a month in doing comedy. I've done 3 open mics, and I get a message like, "Hey man, this guy I know wants us to come down to the town square and open up for some bands that are playing tonight. We'll get free beer, get you some stage time." I say, "Yo, that's dope. I want to do this. Let's get those, let's grind." I was very into the grind early on. And we get there to find out this isn't like any musical show concert. It is a fundraiser to erect a memorial for T Model Ford. For those who don't know, was a well-renowned blues musician.
Okay.
And the local Oxford is a big like musical community, blues community, and so they wanted a local T Model Ford memorial, and so they were doing a fundraiser show. And so we get up there and do. It's 3 comics who have been doing it for a span of 3 months, and for all 30 minutes we were up there, the entire crowd in this bar had their backs to us watching the U.S. Open.
Oh no!
And I was doing so poorly that I halfway through it, I look to my left and I see the host is like doing this to me, which to me I thought that was like, wrap it up, get the fuck off my stage. I'm like, cool guys, I'm Sam Lyons, rest in peace T Ford, and I get off stage. And the host comes up to me and says, no, This means get off. This means keep going. Fill time. The band's not here yet. We need you to go back up. And they sent me, they sent me back on stage.
Oh no!
To tell more jokes.
How did the second half go better?
I said a prayer for T Model Ford, and I call it a night.
Oh my gosh! So you had a whole room of people looking away from you while you told. Did people laugh?
Away from me.
That happens all the time with stand up. Oh. When you have to do stand up.
Is it that hard?
Looking away from me like I was being denied entry to a bar because of dress code, and they all just turned the other direction, didn't offer me an olive branch.
Because you'll go and do comedy at like bars or different events where people did not know they were coming to a comedy show.
They did not know.
And so they'll just turn around and watch the TV. I had to go.
How common is, I mean, like I go to comedy stand up. Well, I did before the world shut down, but like how often do like you go to shows where someone's like, I didn't know this was the show. Is that like 20% of the time? 50%? Okay.
Yeah, any bar show, at least 10% of the audience will be surprised.
And will feel assaulted.
Sometimes it goes really well. Like that's not to like shit on bar. Like I love bar shows to death, but it's definitely gonna happen.
It's a different thing. Like it's the same thing with preaching and with church. The difference between someone dragging you to church, right? Because it's like Mother's Day versus someone who's there because they're actively wanting to be there.
We used to have
like I made the decision to come here.
There was an open mic in St. Louis that like comics would come to. It was 15, 20 comics would come every week to sign for this mic. But it was in the back room of this bar. And nobody, audience members would never come up. Yeah. And one night I was out with another comic. We were getting a drink in between sets, and this like other patron of the bar was like, "Hey, what's going on back there?" I'm like, "Oh, it's an open mic comedy night." It's like, "Oh, like anybody can go to it?" It's like, "Yeah, it's open to everybody." It's like, "Man, the bar owner told us that was like an improv team practicing. Like the bar staff was actively trying to keep people out of the mic." So bar shows can be an uphill battle, but when they go well, they go very well.
Meredith, you're coming back to earth. What do you have your worst bomb? Like just I don't think you shared that.
Yeah, I've never like full on bombed in the way that I think bombing is, but the first time I got heckled, it was an open mic, and it was this drunk girl, and I had a joke about how I did not have sexual intercourse until my wedding night, and she goes, "You're lying," and I was like,
but I'm not.
I'm not. And she was like, "You're such a liar." Like, just keeps going, and I'm like, but it's okay if you didn't do that. Like, are you okay? What do you need to talk about? Like, I was like worried about
you turned into a pastor in that moment. You're like, do you need to talk about this?
Yeah. And so then afterwards, like I was flustered for the rest of my 4 minutes, and I got off stage and the other comics were like, "What the hell did you just do? You just gave her all of your time." And I was like, "Oh, I did. I gave away my time because I was more worried about her than I was about doing my material." And it was a super important lesson for me to learn, especially as like an empath and someone coming from a ministry background. Like, you gotta cut that out. And now I love it when people heckle me. Like, not that people should heckle. Let me make that very clear.
Please, all of us understand Meredith is not endorsing heckling.
Oh my gosh, no.
If you heckle, like, sincerely F you. Like, it's not fun for anyone.
Because sometimes people see it on TV and they think that that's like what you're supposed to do, that you're supposed to talk back, and you're not. What I love is that now I understand how to take my power back and control the mic and the room. And so I have had bits come out of that because there's interaction that I didn't expect to have. And so responses I had to have, but do not heckle. Like it's awful.
I think that like really like the whole vibe of heckling talks like how important it is, and I think this might be helpful for Janet too as you like get ready to do stand up. Like you should be there to have a good time, and you should really do everything you can to make sure the audience has a good time. But like a little bit, fuck the audience, just a little bit, because like you're gonna see a lot of different shows, a lot of different crowds, a lot of different vibes, and people aren't gonna like you sometimes. Yeah, as long as you're not being like intentionally shitty. Don't just mow right over them. Like this is supposed to open mic. You got 4 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever. Like that is your time. That is your mic, your stage. I remember I did an open mic. It was like a mixed mic that happened. Music, poetry, comedy. And when I did it, I actually tried to do like some jokes, but then I also it was when I was first trying to dabble with like actually doing music in front of people, and so I tried to do like a little freestyle and. Like there were folks like talking in the back. It was a long open mic, whatever. People were talking in the back, and I was kind of like trying to keep it going. And one of the like curators of the show was like, "Hey, y'all, shut the fuck up! Let him do his thing." And I try to play it off like, because I'm so used to like comedy open mics, everybody talking like, "No, that's fine. They can do what they want." It's like, no, man, this is your mic right now. Don't let them talk over your mic. And like, I've really worked hard to like keep that with me. It's like, don't let anybody talk over your mic when you got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing too. It's like in people sometimes, and maybe not a lot of people, but in my world, like I hear these fears, like they're like, well, being a preacher is like a stand-up comedy, right? Like you do this, like you come up with something every week, and it's like you come up with content, but it's like you guys like labor over something for months,
my life,
just to life.
And I like as someone who has preached and also done. Stand-up comedy, it's not at all the same thing.
Right.
And like preachers, you have exactly what you're supposed to write about, right? You have a sermon series, most likely. You have parameters.
Right.
And also you get to have your notes in front of you. Like most
right.
And on the screen for everybody else to see.
Right.
You don't get to have a with you when you're doing comedy, right?
Yeah, no. I don't even bring up a set list because I realize like even when I'm doing like 45 minutes, I don't bring up a set list because I know if I ever get into that habit, I'm screwed. And I'm gonna know that I can have that crutch if I want to. But no, so like we memorize like an hour of material. And so it's the same thing in that we're communicating and we're communicators and we are trying to be good storytellers, and most pastors are trying to tell jokes. And pastor jokes
nice way you could have,
very real
that
thing.
was the nicest way you could have said that to me. That was so sweet of you. But it is true. I mean,
a lot of pastor jokes.
Well, but it's true though. Like, I mean, because, and this is why I was actually the most excited about this episode, is that I actually think like comedy, and I feel it's like a healing agent in a lot of ways. Like it has an opportunity to like really, and this is my bias. I think it can speak to culture, but I also think it can really heal people. I think it like I can't say the things that people can say in comedy and get away with, right? Like you can say things and you're not an a-hole, you're not a jerk, but it's funny because you've brought it back on, right? Like, but you've created this way to really holistically tell people, because I mean, that's what I think comedy is. Like, even like really dark comics, at their core, in some ways, I feel like they're like trying to like tell a story of positivity, but they like go through the dark lens, right? Like, and that's why I love it. I think it's like I have not found a better medium. I learned most of my stuff from preaching through just listening to stand-up comics. Like, I haven't found better storytellers than you guys. And I think it's such a cool world that, like, how do we do the art of like helping people understand the fullness of who they are through the art of like telling stories and like making them funny. Like I just think it's great. And so this has been one of my favorites that I've done just because I think it's like such a cool world, man. It's a cool world.
Are we supposed to be eating the atomic one?
No, you're about to. So here's our last question. And I teased mine, I guess. Like I said, why I think it's important. But why do you think, because I mean, I'll show my cards. Like I won't bury the lead. I think comedy is important for life and the world and culture. Like I think without it, I mean, you can go back as far as time and history shows there's some sort of comedic element, right? Like, it's just so important to who I think God created us to be, but also it speaks into it speaks into things. And so like, I just wonder, like, why do you think comedy is important, and why would you, so 2-part question, why is it important, and why do you think people should engage in it? Faith-based or not faith-based? Like, whatever, because this, like, we have a lot of people that aren't engaged in Christianity at all, right? That watch this. And so like, why do you think it's important, but why do you think it's important for everyone, not just like people like the three of us that engage in church on a regular basis? You know what I mean? But I don't know if you want to answer that before you eat the wing or not.
I'm diving in.
Sam's diving in.
So I just took the other atomic wing, dumped some sriracha on it. So this is
you doubled it up.
This is because I didn't want to not end on a hottest wing.
Oh my gosh!
So this is my last will and testament. I think that's
a pretty hard move, man.
So can you 10 words?
Why is comedy important?
Why is
comedy important?
I think that it shows. It's a reminder that like it's going to be okay, and it's the simplest way I can say it is like. And I think that speaks to, when you were talking about even the darkest comics, like trying to laugh. Even the darkest comics are just trying to find like the humor, the joke, the smile in something. And it can be such an amazing way to deal with like the traumas in our lives. Like after my dad passed, for example, like the last thing I wanted to do was like be out and about and around people. But I got on stage and started going back to mics, and I started like trying to tell jokes about his death. And like the first time I tried to tell him, it didn't go well. And I can't remember what the joke was, but like I tell this joke about my dad dying before I could make good jokes, and like everyone just like stares at me in the audience. Like I looked at him, I said, "Fuck y'all! Is my dead dad? Like I'm gonna not laughing's not gonna bring him back, So let's just lean in. And like not laughing isn't gonna make anything better. Laughing might. It won't always. Sometimes you'll slip and fall, but like sometimes you'll get a smile.
Yeah, that's good. No, Sam, I super appreciate that. Was like a really good answer. I mean, I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. Meredith, what about you? Like, what do you think?
I think that it is a necessity because it tears back any pretense and any sense of properness in life, so that there can be more of those moments that are, oh wait, you too? I thought that I was the only one. And that's been the most beautiful thing, I think, for me about stand-ups, is transferring from a preaching standpoint and being in full-time ministry to doing stand-up. Like, I don't have to worry about any little old ladies, right, sending me emails or calling me upset because
you don't get emails anymore. You don't get emails anymore.
No, I just make my parents really sad. That's it. But it's because I remember I do get to go and do church events, and I wrapped up a sermon series one time called Laughing with God at a church, and talked openly about being so sick during pregnancy that I was puking and peeing at the same time. And
that's a good joke.
Huh? I haven't done that in a long time.
I was thinking about that joke the other day.
And so I was literally up there like with a stool in front of the altar with my leg up, like I was peeing. And so there's all these little ladies came up to me after the service and said, "Oh my goodness, that's exactly what it was like for us during pregnancy, but no one ever talks about it." And so that's that is my favorite thing about stand-up, that I'm no longer confined to there being anything that no one talks about. And I think that Christianity would do a lot better if we stopped doing that as well. So
that's really and to like just go to like, I mean, you said this really, really early on, Meredith, but like, or maybe Sam, you said that, I can't remember which one, but I think it was you, maybe Sam, actually. But like, resonating is the key to a good joke and the key to a good story. And so like, even the story you just told, Meredith, like, it wasn't like you said the funniest shit ever, or like you told the best story ever, but it resonated with people and they were like, oh, yeah, like that's my story, and I can hear the truth now behind it, right? I think that's the cool side of all this, and the hope in all this is like understanding storytelling isn't like this art of like I know everything, or I'm like telling you how I'm right, or whatever, or why I'm so funny, but it's like how does my story connect to your story and make the human experience one that's so much more
exactly
accessible.
Storytelling isn't a speech, it's not a presentation or a TED talk. It's sharing your life. It's opening yourself up. It's making yourself really vulnerable to an audience. And on like one of the deepest levels, like taking the shit that goes through our head. And that's not, I'm not talking about comics, I'm talking like, and like, I know we've all got wild stuff going on, and like to be able to like just share that with someone else, it's like, hey, this is what I'm going through. Have you ever gone through? I guess it's like it takes so much. Yeah, it's draining, honestly. But it can.
Do I need to be eating my wing?
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. Because now, I mean, we're about to sign off.
Do it.
I've never had the Atomic. Is it hot?
Oh, The Atomic was, I think, designed to attack your dental cavities.
So I've had what is apparently hotter from Buffalo Wild Wings, but again, that's what I wanted to send you, but they didn't have it near you guys.
Oh, that next one, I don't do that one. I would have turned them around.
You'd be like, all right, I'm probably going to pass on that. Well, friends, I appreciate you joining us for this episode of Hot Thought. This has actually been, again, one of my favorites. I've had a lot of fun here. I've actually might watch someone die for the first time on Hot Thoughts, which is pretty exciting. But Sam, we're going to start with you just because you don't have a wing in your body right now. So
sure.
The way I end the show is I want to let you think of it like this is your minute platform. You could talk about whatever you want. Promo you, like what shows do you have coming up, or like, hey, here's a cause I really care about, whatever. But you got a minute for yourself, man. Like, what do you want to say?
Yeah, close the workhouse in St. Louis.
Yes.
Donate money to Cory Bush and other progressives. Go watch The Jerk with Steve Martin, because we were talking about a-holes and jerks earlier, and then made me think about how much I love that movie. I'm on SoundCloud at Wu-Tang Sammy. I've got
hold on. Sorry. Say that real quick. I'm going to put that in the comments. It's
Wu-Tang Sammy.
Wu-Tang, like just like it spells it in Wu-Tang, like
Sammy with a Y.
Yep. 2 M's?
2 M's and a Y. Yep.
All right. So Wu-Tang Sammy, I just dropped that in the comments. If you want to find him, it's in there.
Yeah, it's on SoundCloud.
Sorry,
one song on now. No, you're good. One song out now. More coming soon. Pray for Meredith's Palette. Stream the Story Collider. We do online shows, and we have a Story Slam tomorrow night. Storycollider.org. You can log in to watch the live stream, or you can put your name in the hat to maybe tell a 5-minute story.
Cool. Can you do me a favor real quick? Can you put those in the comments, those two things?
Yes, I will put them in the private chat because I don't have an account with this. So
yeah, I'll drop them in. And then, do you really quickly before we kick to Meredith? Do you have any shows coming up? Like places people could find you?
No shows coming up right now.
Okay, cool. All right, I got this. I'm gonna drop it in. Meredith, how you doing, sister?
Not good.
I'm so sorry. This is why I'll tell you, I'm not an empath, but I'll tell you, this is actually my least favorite part of the show. Like, I just hate seeing people in pain. But turns out, spoiler alert, twist,
how much milk
Snyder cut, I also love it.
Wait, can we talk? If you haven't, Meredith, can you at some point share with Danny the link to your milk challenge from 2018 with Brendan?
You did a gallon challenge?
She did the gallon challenge, live streamed it on Facebook a few years ago.
Did you yak everywhere?
I didn't puke. I only got 3/4 of the jug done, though.
Meredith, I just want to let you know that we've known each other now for, I would say, 6 years, right? 6 years, maybe. But I've got to know you better in the last 12 months. And just by virtue of what you're putting yourself through right now, I can call you one of the best friends I've ever had. Like, you look like you're dying, right?
I feel like I am.
Meredith's a day one. You know what? A real quick salute to Meredith Hopping.
Oh my gosh.
Let's pour one out for her.
Basic white women are not supposed to eat things this hot.
I know. I did. That was one of my favorite. I will say that I've also, our group chat before this started was one of my favorites. I don't even know what you were trying to say, but I told Sam his wings arrived and he said, "You're not God." And I almost peed my pants laughing. I've never, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I was just thinking about you sitting in some basement somewhere with a satellite tracking to see when the wings were being delivered.
Yeah, I was I'm trying to be helpful, and I saw that. I was like, this guy knows his stuff. This guy understands comedy. I appreciated it. So Meredith, you get 1 minute. What's your swan song?
Everything that Sam said, all those things, and also just, especially right now with the state that the world is in, take the time to tell your story to someone and to listen to someone's story. That is literally the base of all stand-up comedy, and it's pretty powerful to hear someone's story and to share yours and to connect in that way. And goodness knows the world needs more connection right now than ever. Also, I do have a couple shows coming up on Tuesday. Shut up. On Tuesday, 4/20, I will be at 9 Mile Garden in Afton. It's an amazing food truck venue. It's outside, and so it's completely free as well. And then on May 8th for Mother's Day weekend, I have a very exciting show at Mad Art Gallery. And it is both a show and a dinner from Chef Ron Bouchel. And it's going to harken back to the days of the old supper clubs and Lawrence Welk show. And we will all be in vintage apparel. And vintage apparel is encouraged. And so it's just a great time to come out for Mother's Day weekend and just kind of have a throwback to the old days of comedy.
Yeah, sorry, real quick. Where did you say that was on Mother's Day weekend?
At Mad Art Gallery in Soulard.
All right. So I put all those. So anything for Sam, for Meredith, places you can find them. Check them out, guys. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for joining me. This was a lot of and I don't take this lightly. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. One of my most fun I've had. And I haven't had like one not live with multiple people. You guys are my first in a whole season with multiple people. And so we might have to dive back into it. I kind of liked it.
And also one of the best things you can do for artists and comedians right now is to just follow us on social media. It's a really easy, free way to support us. And then you'll also get all the info on our upcoming events and all our goings on. So I know mine is just at Meredith Hopping, like you see on the screen. So follow me on Instagram and Twitter and you'll find everything out. And then Sam, what is yours?
Wu-Tang Sammy across the board.
Okay.
I put it back in the comments for that. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for doing this. This was a lot of fun. We'll be back. Well, so I told you guys this. This might be my last episode. My wife could go into labor any moment. Who knows at this point? So theoretically, we'll have an episode next week. I don't know what it's going to be, but we'll find out. So be on the lookout. I would say go find the always funny Meredith and Sam on any of the places they're popping up on Spotify, whether it's live shows. I loved Meredith. You said like following you guys on social media, easiest way to support. It's just an easy way to be able to keep up. And so please, if
you can mute us after that if you want. We still got the number. That's all we need.
Yeah, you still got the follow.
Yeah.
So find them, follow them. But go see them in person. They're outstanding, and I can't wait. I think we'll have you guys back in here for a season 3 reunion. I think it's gonna happen.
I think the next one might be in person also.
I mean, that's what I wanted.
We'll be back.
Your boy got a second jab today, so
woo.
I like that. Well, Meredith, we're waiting for you. We got 2 people on the screen that are fully vaxxed. So once you're vaccinated, we got a full
I got my
episode.
first one yesterday. Oops.
I saw it, and you almost cried about it. You were excited.
I did cry. I was just
wait, Meredith excited and emotional and introspective? Not Meredith. Not on Tuesdays we do this, Meredith. Hang on.
I was just like, this poor man administering the shot does not need me bawling. Like, that's the only thing that kept me from crying.
I really had to force myself not to take selfies with the people giving me my shot. I was like, I think it's cool that people do that. I was like, that's not my platform.
Yeah.
Don't you feel a little bit like I've been vaccinated for months now? And I felt like bad because like people have been like I never took a picture, so people are like, well, I can't hang out with this a-hole. He's not vaccinated.
Right.
Like, guys, I just didn't post it on Instagram.
Well, actually, this weekend I'm getting my vaccination card tattooed on my left cheekbone.
I knew
that might be the mark of the beast.
That's the mark of the. Mark me up, Daddy.
Well,
if it means that we can safely gather again, yes.
It's actually been crazy. I haven't not seen a silhouette of Joe Biden since I've got vaccinated. I close my eyes and I see Joe Biden every time I close my eyes. It's wild. All right, friends. This is taking a weird turn. I appreciate everyone for joining us for this. We'll see you guys back here again next week. Meredith, Sam, thank you for joining us. Get vaccinated, stay safe, go see comedy because they're out and they're here and they're online and they're in person. Support local comedy. These guys are great. And we'll see you back here again.